Hey friends, sorry I'm in the dark. I collect my thoughts when I drive, so I really wanted to share that I had the most fascinating conversation in all my life just now. Let me take out my gum, give me 1 second. So I hate talking and I'm like so I had the most fascinating conversation, and so I won't be too specific because, I like to keep some details, sacred. But so it's no secret that I Uber drive, and I picked up I would say one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life, and I'm gonna get emotional because I've just been having such a weird week, and it's like when someone humbles you, it's like, what was I doing? But every day, I this conversation made me realize a lot of stuff. That I've been trying so hard to be perfect. And I'm learning every day how badly I am at trying to attain that status of perfection, that every day I fail at being perfect. And it's okay that I don't become perfect, but it's just the impression that people around you sometimes make you feel obligated that you have to attain this level of perception of perfection. I mean, it's like that with work, with customer service. Like I said, I have an Uber service, so there's a customer value quality that you have to offer. Anything, I might have consultations with people for private services in my career field, and that's also something that you have to, everything is value and delight. And it's like one thing that's a beautiful goal I would love to achieve, to be a supervisor of any sort one day, of anything in the, like, I used to work at Home Depot, and I thought there's a possibility I could be an assistant manager. But because of the way that I was maturing, I wasn't strong enough to really attain the perception of authority, and I had to accept it, which is why I left the company. And it's because also I wasn't the perfect person. I was still learning a lot in life, and anyways, but this person that I drove, I picked him up from his job. He was getting off work, going home to his partner who but this person, basically, he was in prison for 4 years, and his crime wasn't that bad, but it did put him in federal. And then I asked him one question. I said, from the person you were before getting caught to the person you are now, what would be your life motto? Like, I didn't want to be stupid, like with a stupid question, like, what did you learn? But I wanted to know, there goes my blinker. I wanted to know, what did you gain out of life, and what will be your motto? And he said, be in the present. And I've heard people say that so many times. Live in the present moment. Life's a present, and now is the present too. And though I've heard that so many hundreds of times, I never really humbled myself with that statement, because people who think they know the moment, the present moment, being in the moment, or grounding themselves, don't really know, quite like someone who has been incarcerated for, basically during the last transition of, you know, of our of our national powers that be. And so, and he was able to get a job right after. He was able to do a lot of things because he just said, I just went right up and applied. And sometimes we have this perception that, oh, because you're a bad person, you can't get this, and this is unavailable, and good luck with that, and this and that. But he debunked that statement because he just showed up. And he said, look, I've learned, I'm in the present, and this is, you know, my education and my background. And the job hired him straight out of, you know, incarceration, which I commend someone for that. And I said, you're such a good man, Charlie Brown. And I asked him, what did he learn from, you know, his prison experience? And he said, you know, how you have to become racist. You have to become, you know, like if you were, what is it called? Those guys from back in the Troy days where, you know, I'm gonna pull over for this. You know, back in the Troy days where you gotta, it's you versus your enemy, and you have to like fight to survive. That's what his experience was. He said if ever he had to, you know, basically defend himself, protect himself, he basically has to make sure that other person's, you know, unconscious. That's the goal. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. And he's like, yeah, but it's either you or him. What are you going to do? And then he said that the treatment of the prisoners, including himself, was so horrible. Like, they really tamper with your mind, your mentality, tell you things to make you frustrated. It's almost like if you were to imagine an animal in a shelter and you are petting a dog. Let's say you work at a shelter and you're petting a dog, you're feeding a dog treats, you know, discreetly, and you're making this dog think that it's gonna go home. And then you just turn around and shut the doors and turn off the lights and you leave the animal alone. Those actions mess with their emotions. And that's what he was saying, was that he had to open his mind, his concept of life and thoughtfulness and mindfulness to a whole nother level. I just have a lot of emotions because right before I picked him up, I was going to make a video about being my own best friend, learning how to accept being alone, learning how to be your own friend. Because when you depend on people, and let's be honest, we all depend on friends to be there. But then you come to a point in your life where people don't really have the time and convenience to share moments with you. You know, I'm going to be an emotional wreck. But it's like, I'm not mad or envious or anything or bitter. But it's been 3 months I lived in my apartment, and I invite so many people to just have conversation and tea or a glass of wine, just something normal. And because of my growth as a person and my maturity, it has shifted my relationships with people, and it's hard for people to understand who I've become or what am I or what's going on, or I'm not in the same dialect, if that makes any sense, as I used to be. I don't really relate to a lot of people in ways that I was relevant before. I'm learning how to accept being my own friend, be my own best friend. The only person that I spend a lot of time with is myself. And I think a lot of people mistake the photos with you know, people behind me, or me dining with people, me being out on holidays with people, those were all invitations. But I never instigated or instituted those gatherings. Even when I have gatherings, people who care about me, who love to support, and they care about each other too, they all, in the name of a team, they show up and they support because it's a moment. And it really reminded me of what this gentleman was telling me, was about being in the present moment. And he says, I can't say it enough, be present. And he's in a good relationship with someone that he really, really loves. But then he said the moment that his, you know, probation is over, probation? Yeah, you know, when you have to stay in an area for a long time because you are, you know, you're under a certain time period before you can go travel the world, do whatever you want. I think it's probation. But he says, like, I'm gonna go explore the world. He's like, there's so much there's so many places to live and so many places to go. And then here I go with the tears again. I'm like, because the society that we live in financially has imprisoned us. Many of us, where we can't even afford to get through a whole week, and we're working like 2 or 3 jobs to survive. You might see the nice car, you might see, you know, the nice outfit at work, you might see, you know, the good hair, Becky. But there's sacrifices. Like, people have to think, do I buy bologna today because I can't go vegan anymore and afford it, you know? Or do I spend $10 on hair product because, you know, I need to look good for my career? Or do I, you know, buy laundry detergent? You know, this is real, people. Not me specifically, but I see every day. I encounter so many people on a daily basis. And I encounter so many people who are authentic and humble about their experiences. And I have some humbling experiences, and no one's perfect. So it brings me back to my dialogue before. What are we trying to do? Because the roadmap of hiding our imperfections and not omitting that, hey, life's a little jacked up and I'm struggling really bad. I think if we opened up and expressed how the battles are challenging and I am a champion of battles, I think we can change the world just that much. But I think the fact that we feel ashamed that we're struggling and suffering, we don't talk about it, and then emotionally we divide ourselves. So that when someone comes into power who's in opposition of that, guess what? We chastise that one. We burn the witch at the stake. It made me open my eyes to see the true reality that we live in. And it's all thanks to currency. Currency has made an enemy out of all of us, and even to ourselves. Like, I was even telling my passenger, I'm like, you know, I was reading something about this guy said the devil doesn't exist. That the enemy is you. You create the enemy. You're the one who thinks that there's this red man in the bottomless pit with a pitchfork who has the time and day to think about you. Certainly there's an enemy. And I always tell people the darkest place in all the world is between your ears. Because the corruption that you can bring to yourself can be as bad as having a physical enemy attack you every day. Because there's so many billions of people, and what does he have against you? That's the funny part. And then he responded by saying, well, I don't believe there's a God. That's not for me, y'all. That's for the person behind me. It's funny, like, I say these videos and I have these like references of affirmation that happen around me. So anyways, I am going to wrap up this video because I don't want them coming to me after they pull that person over. But that's a really good affirmation, confirmation for me that what I'm saying validates that if we start to live in the present moment, then the pressure and stress kind of detaches from our day to day. We don't have to be this, and that, but we apply these titles to ourselves. We make ourselves be these titles. We make ourselves be these levels of perfection, and it's kind of ridiculous sometimes what we do to ourselves, and we fault ourselves of our past. We make ourselves suspects of this is what happened to me now because of blah 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 and blah. And it's like, we gotta let that go. We gotta be in a place of loving ourselves and being our own good friends. And I'm starting to embrace it. This will be the first week where I will probably come out with it and saying that I don't have people to hang out with on my off time. I don't have people after work to go have, a smoothie with. I don't have someone I can call on the phone and say, let's go hiking. And it hurts my feelings because the person that I am and the job that I have and the quality I have, it's like you would think I'm surrounded by people all the time. And I think, to be honest and get it off my chest, my own family hasn't seen where I live. Not even my mom. And it's like, why don't people want to see me? Why don't people want to be around me? And it's not to make people feel bad. It's just what I have to live with. And I have to wake up and be something in front of people tomorrow. And I can't be this victim and this sensitive. I have to be like this, built of strength. And it's hard because every day you go back to this square that you live in that's really comfortable, thinking about how to make tomorrow better. And I think because I've worked on the present moment so many times without knowing it, I didn't realize I was living in the present moment. So I think it's just going to be beautiful that I'm going to embrace this week with integrity. And that is it. Thank you guys for listening to this long video. But I hope you guys are inspired by the message that it's okay to be alone. And when you find yourself being alone, realize that being your own friend doesn't make you alone. And it is okay. Like that imperfection it's in the moment. And love yourself for those moments. Bye.